Good morning. I'm John Jones, Chairman of the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority. This meeting is being conducted pursuant to the notice provisions of the Oklahoma Open Meeting Act, with all participating authority members attending in person. While this meeting is open and public, there will be no public comments, as is OTA's longstanding historical practice. In addition to being open to the public for in-person observation, the meeting is being live streamed and recorded for remote viewing. The time is 10:03 a.m. and I'm calling the June 4th, 2024 regular meeting of the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority to order. Charity, please call the roll.
Mr. Willberry, Mr. Todd Cohn, Mr. Gene Love,
Here.
Mr. John Titsworth,
Here.
Miss Dana Weber,
Here.
Mr. John Jones.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Our first item this morning is recognition and awards. Joey Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Appreciate everybody being here today. We've got a few announcements here to make, and a couple of them that are, and all of these are pretty exciting. A couple of them are particularly exciting to me. One is an update on the employment of TJ Dill that sits over here to my left. You're right. TJ has accepted the job of taking on some of the deputy director role that I was doing prior to becoming the executive director. So as part of that, he will continue to oversee engineering, maintenance, construction, utilities, and right-of-way. But TJ has now taken on, in addition to that, human resources and customer service. And as we've updated the board in the past, customer service has grown with the OTA as we've switched to plate pay, and it's generated a lot of phone calls. So TJ started as a drafting technician in 2009. I actually knew TJ before that. He and I, he said, uh-oh. I used to teach a class, adjunct professor at Oklahoma State University. I taught the civil engineering surveying course. And TJ was one of my students early on. And he was able to go to work for the Department of Transportation as a draftsman there, where I had worked, and then came to work at ODOT, worked as a resident engineer at Enid in Yukon, became construction engineer. Actually, when I came to work at the Turnpike Authority, ODOT filled that role with TJ, and he overseed the maintenance and construction in the Oklahoma City area for ODOT. He joined OTA in 2020 as our director of construction and was promoted to the chief engineer in 2023, and then in April, so just 2 months ago, became our deputy director. So really appreciate TJ and just wanted to recognize him. We have one more job duty announcement like that with a new title, and that's Jeremy Smith. Jeremy was named the new director of maintenance in May. He's been working closely with Mark Kalka over the course of the last actually several years, and really has a lot of experience. Jeremy started with the Turnpike Authority in the year 2000, so 24 years ago. He had a small stint where he was away from the OTA for a little bit, and then he saw the light and came back. So altogether, a little over 19 years of experience here at the Turnpike, 4.5 or so that he did outside of OTA. He's worked as a TEO out on the highway, a maintenance supervisor, a maintenance superintendent, recently our safety officer and director of safety, and then became the maintenance program coordinator, basically organizing the purchase of our vehicles and some of the training around that. And now, most recently, our director of maintenance. So really appreciate Jeremy being here today, and wanted to recognize him and say congratulations. Jeremy will tell you that maintenance is 24/7, 365, and there's not anybody better suited to that demand than Jeremy Smith. I'm just telling you. He answers the phone no matter what the hour, and handles business. He's out as safety director, and we'd have an accident, he'd be out working it in the middle of the night. And so excited to have him as a part of our staff, or our leadership staff. Okay, moving on from that to a partnership award from Keep America Beautiful. I'd like to With your permission, Mr. Chairman, invite Evelyn Schaefer to come up and present this award to the board.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, members, Director E. Kelly. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to recognize the partnership between the Turnpike Authority and Keep Oklahoma Beautiful. Last year, OTA helped the Great American Cleanup be a success. All 77 counties participated for the 4th consecutive year. 2.3 million pounds of trash were collected by 13,000 volunteers across the state, and nearly 5,000 acres of land were cleared. On behalf of our board of directors and staff, thank you for your commitment to litter education, beautification, and environmental sustainability, and for helping us keep Oklahoma beautiful. I am proud to present this award on behalf of Keep Oklahoma Beautiful and Keep America Beautiful.
Thank you. Sure. The board.
Oh, I should have taken that from you. I'm sorry. Thank you. I know that's we sponsor by purchasing some of the supplies. We actually do a financial sponsorship as well as participate. So we sponsor some of the routine cleanups. LaDan actually heads that for us here at OTA, and so really appreciate all the work that she does associated with that. The last recognition that we have today is Trooper of the Month. That's going to be presented by Major Val, with your permission, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, just stand right there. Right out in the middle. Thank you, Chair, for letting us recognize Trooper Geib today. I'm going to read this little incident I think you'll find very interesting. Around 2 o'clock on March 23rd of this year, Troop Eric Geib was working stationary radar at the eastbound toll plaza on the Cherokee Turnpike. Geib noticed a vehicle approaching him traveling over 70 miles per hour in a 55 mile per hour construction zone. Geib initiated the traffic stop for speeding. During the traffic stop, Trooper Geib noticed a pistol and loose cash in the passenger side floorboard and learned that the driver of the vehicle did not have a valid driver's license. Geib utilized his investigative skills to uncover several other circumstantial evidence. Geib found 2 more guns in the back floorboard, a shotgun and a .22 rifle, along with some other items that didn't seem to belong to the driver. Geib also learned that the driver was not the owner of the vehicle and discovered the owner's information for the vehicle had an address from Malika, Oklahoma, in Okfuskee County. Geib knew things were not adding up and believed that the vehicle could possibly be stolen. He contacted the Okfuskee County Sheriff's Dispatch for assistance and requested to have a deputy go by the owner's address and just attempt to make contact with the owner to see if the house looked to be burglarized or if the vehicle could be stolen. Upon arrival, the deputy found a male victim on the porch of the residence who had been fatally shot. The home had been broken into and the owner was not at the residence. Guy had placed the driver under arrest and worked with the Custody County Sheriff's Office and OSBI to hold, collect, and store evidence for the growing investigation. On March 25th, the driver confessed to the crimes, including shooting, burglary, and stealing of the vehicle. Guy did an outstanding job recognizing the inconsistencies in the suspect's story, identified an unreported crime that had just occurred, and took steps to ensure a complete investigation of the possible crimes were followed up on. Trooper Guy was able to have a violent criminal in custody before the crime was ever even reported. Trooper Guy is recognized for going above and beyond the traffic stop and is also recognized for a job well done. So.
Moving on to our next item, I ask for a motion for the approval of minutes for the regular meeting of April 2nd, 2024. We have a motion and a second. Thank you. Please vote accordingly. I don't know, does the touch screen come up? Just vote Gene Orley.
Yes.
Mr. Love,
Yes.
Mr. Titsworth,
Yeah.
Ms. Weber,
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Sorry.
We have approval of the minutes for the regular meeting of April 2nd, 2024. Now, on to our regular items of business. The finance items this morning will be presented by Ms. Weber in the absence of Todd Cohn.
Thank you, Chairman Jones. I'd like to ask Amanda Bolden to please come to the podium to present the first item.
Good morning. Submitted for consideration and approval of the authority is a request to authorize the director to negotiate and execute the last of 3 available one-year extensions to the master service consulting contracts with each of the following 4 staffing firms: Addison Group, Inseed LLC, Side Job Inc., Summit Consulting LLC. Under the terms of these master service consulting contracts, these firms offer the recruitment and staffing of resources with the necessary skill sets and level of technical expertise to support technology enhancements and maintenance for the authority, including those related to cashless conversion and national interoperability. Staff have reviewed the above item and recommends for approval.
Thank you, Ms. Bolden. Based on the staff's review and recommendation, I move for approval of item number 1190.
We have a motion for approval of item 1190. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Are we voting electronically or orally? Okay, now we can vote. Please vote electronically. The voting is ended and item 1190 has been approved.
All right, the next item is item 1191. I'd like to ask Mr. Matt Leffelholtz to please come to the podium to present this item.
Good morning. Submitted for consideration and approval of the authority is a request to authorize the director to negotiate and execute the purchase of firewalls for an amount not to exceed $358,194. These firewalls will replace the current systems nearing the end of life, provide enhanced security features to protect against cyber threats, and maintain the integrity of devices and data. Upgrading these firewalls will also improve performance, manageability, supporting the secure operations of OTA's systems and the robustness of the authority's network security infrastructure. The following item is to be approved for purchase from GSA contract GSA 354F-0511T from Pinnacle Business Systems. Staff has reviewed the above item and recommends for approval.
Thank you. I'd just like to comment that I believe our team does an outstanding job with cybersecurity and really appreciate the fact that you guys always stay on top of what needs to be done and recognize this is a daily fight that we must make. And so thank you for what you do every day.
Appreciate it.
Based on the staff review and recommendation, I move for approval of item 1191.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1191. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Love. Please vote appropriately. Voting is ended and item 1191 has been approved.
All right, for the next item, item 1192, I'd like to ask Eric Laird to please come to the podium.
Good morning, Ms. Weber, Chairman Jones, authority members. As you know, the authority adopts bylaws that govern the conduct of its business. Those bylaws provide that at the authority's annual June meeting, the authority is to appoint officers to the authority board that will serve from July 1 this year, July 1 through June 30 of next year. The officers to be appointed to the board include the chairman, the vice chairman, the secretary treasurer, and the assistant secretary treasurer, the latter of which historically has been appointed from the authority's executive staff. The first three officers have to be appointed from this board. The item presented for your approval or considered for your approval today is the selection of officers. Chairman would be John Jones, the vice chairman would be Will Berry, the secretary treasurer would be Todd Cohn, and the assistant secretary treasurer would be Julie Porter. This is essentially a reappointment of the officers that were selected at last year's June meeting. Of course, from time to time, the remaining board members will fill in from time to time in the absence of an officer, such as today. Of course, you know, those fill-in officers, such as you, Mr. Love, have served this board with distinction for many years, and for many years as its chairman. Ms. Weber, you also have served this board with distinction for many years, and for many years as its chairwoman. Mr. Tidsworth, you also have served with distinction and currently serve as chairman of the Audit and Budget Committee. I will be happy to answer any questions you may have about this item, but to be clear, it's recommended by staff for approval and from me as general counsel.
All right, any questions? I guess I shouldn't be asking that question. Sorry about that. Based on the recommendation of staff, I move for approval of item 1192.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1192. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Please vote appropriately. Voting is ended and item 1192 and those slate of officers has been approved.
All right, the final item for the Finance Committee is item 1193, and I would like to ask Ms. Patterson to please come forward and present this item.
Good morning, Chairman Jones and members of the authority. Item number 1193 is for the payment registers for all payments made in the months of March and April 2024. These payment registers were prepared by the Comptroller Division. The staff has reviewed this item and recommends this item for approval.
Thank you, Ms. Patterson. Based on the staff recommendation for approval, I move for approval of item 1193.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1193. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Love. Please vote appropriately. The voting is ended and item 1193 has been approved. Moving on to the engineering and construction items in the absence of Mr. Berry, Mr. Love has agreed to present these items.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first items under the Engineering and Construction Committee is item number 1194, and I'd ask for Jeff Gardner to come forward and present the item.
Good morning, Chairman Jones, members of the board. Presented for the consideration of the authority is a request that the following change orders be approved. Of these change orders, 1 adds new items to compensate the contractor for additional work. 2 overrun existing pay items due to site requirements. Each of these items have been reviewed by staff and are recommended for approval. You also notice that the format of these reports have changed some. They contain all of the same information as before and some additional information which we are now able to automatically generate out of the construction management software. So I'd be happy to stand for any questions you may have of the new report or the change ordered items.
Any questions?
I would just comment that I like the additional detail.
Thank you.
It is good. Okay, if there are no questions, I would make a motion that we approve this item as presented.
Second?
Second.
Sosa?
We have a motion and a second. Any questions?
No.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Please vote appropriately for item 1194. The voting is ended and item 1194 has been approved.
The next item for engineering and construction is item number 1195, and I'd ask Mr. Butler to present this item.
Good morning, Mr. Love, members of the board. Good to see everyone this morning. Engineering Division has 4 items we'd like to present for consideration here today. That's items 1195 through 1198. First item, 1195, this is construction contract award. This is for project TMC 142. This is asphalt pavement rehabilitation from milepost 161 to milepost 166 in the westbound direction only. This is on the Turnpike. This is a capital plan project. Had 2 good bids on the project here. You can see Ellsworth Construction LLC is our low bid. The amount of $1,326,642.12. This is about $204,116 below the engineer's amount. That's about 13.3% below that engineer's estimate. So good bid there. Ellsworth is, this is the first time we've had them bid on our project, so this will be the first time to have them build one of our construction projects. So we did certainly do a little bit of background check and certainly consulted with ODOT. ODOT currently has them on half a dozen projects, and so no concerns there. We reviewed the bids thoroughly. We recommend approval.
Okay, based on the staff recommendation, I would make a motion for approval as presented.
We have a motion for approval of item 1195. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Titsworth. Please vote appropriately. Everybody vote.
It keeps popping back up.
I pressed it like 3 or 4 times.
Apparently, we're having an electronic issue. Let's ask for a verbal vote of this item.
Okay. Mr. Love?
Yes.
Mr. Titsworth?
Yes.
Ms. Weber?
Yes.
And Mr. Jones?
Yes. Item 1195 has been approved.
Okay, next item is 1196. It's a task order modification for engineering services contract. This is project TMC 128 and modification number 7 with Olson. This task order modification will provide additional engineering services for design work related to mainline widening and adjustments made to the Service Plaza demise premises. Significant plan changes include revising the site layout and demise premises drainage, fencing, grading, pavement, details, signing, and striping. Work includes miscellaneous related plan changes, utility coordination, additional review meetings, and submission and bidding assistance for an additional project. This mod number 7 shall not exceed $189,095, and that's a new not to exceed amount of $2,840,835.10. And if I may just elaborate just a little bit, as you can see there, that's 7 modifications. That's a lot for a design contract, so I wanted to just touch on that briefly, if I may. When we started this, project. Initially it was deemed the redevelopment of Service Plaza on the Turner Turnpike, which was primarily the Stroud Service Plaza. So the idea was to get that out of the middle, to have an eastbound only, to have a westbound only. But we really needed to start somewhere with an original contract that was just a study to really look at all the options. So once we finished that study, we were able to find a path forward, and that's where a lot of these modifications have come into play. One modification was for the actual design of Chandler, which is already built. Still working on Stroud, about have it wrapped up. We're going to bring it to you, I think, in September for award. So a lot of modifications was kind of, we knew that was going to be part of this long, big design project here. So just a little background for that. Other than that, we've reviewed everything. We recommend approval for this item.
Were there any additional modifications due to the access plan?
No, not so much. Some of that, we've also switched vendors. Love's, is at our service plazas now. So with Stroud, whenever Love's came on board, with Stroud still being in design, they wanted to make a few changes there. So we were able to accommodate some of those changes. That's some of what we're seeing in here as well.
Okay, any other questions? Based on the staff recommendation, I'd make a motion to approve this item as presented.
We have a motion for approval of item 1196. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Tisworth. Is electronic voting working? Yes. Hopefully. Voting is ended, and item 1196 has been approved.
Next item is 1197. This is another contract modification. This is GCT 2500 and modification number 4 on the Gilcrease Turnpike with our consultant Garver. This contract modifications provide compensation for the following engineering services. Required supplementary FEMA letter of map revision. Work includes extensive modeling efforts, required as-built survey data collections, LOMAR submittal, FEMA reviews, and final map approval. LOMAR approval will include 6 affected FEMA streams. That's Harlow Creek Tributary, Harlow Creek Overflow, Arkansas River, Berry Hill Creek, and Berry Hill Creek Tributary. Work also includes construction documentation, including multiple shop drawings, submittal reviews, requests for information from the contractor, and general engineering support. Also includes record drawings, including consultant review, interpretation, incorporating field markups into the original digital plan set, and assemble final as-built record drawings for the overall final project. The amount due under this modification number 4 shall not exceed $298,495, which will bring us to a new revised not to exceed amount of $9,771,653.50. Staff reviewed this item thoroughly. We recommend approval.
Okay, any questions? Based on the staff recommendation, I would make a motion to approve 1197 as presented.
We have a motion for approval of item 1197. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Mr. Tisworth. Please vote appropriately. Voting is ended, and item 1197 has been approved.
Okay, final item for Engineering Division. This is item 1198. This is on-demand design contract modifications for the Access Bond Program. Contracts MAC-01. This is modification number 4 with MacArthur Associated Consultants. This contract modifications provide compensation for additional engineering services for Access Program Project EWC-28001, which you can see of the 4 listed there. It's the first one. This change will increase the consultant's not-to-exceed contract amount to account for additional engineering services related to the submittal of the 30% plans milestone. Numerous changes were identified during the 30% plan review and during the access justification requirements, also known as an AJR, which is review required by the Federal Highway Administration. Again, you can see the 4 design segments that are in conjunction with this contract. Again, the EWC 28001, this is Again, our east-west connector there around Newcastle at I-44, that's the big interchange. This is the one of the 4 projects. This is the one project we're really asking for the additional funding on. And just in summary, the EWC 28002 is the river bridge as you head west out of Newcastle, or excuse me, east out of Newcastle. This one's already been negotiated in full, and we brought that to you a few months back. The 2 TCC projects are Tri-City Connector, and neither of those we've restarted. The amount due under this modification 4 shall not exceed $1,156,107 for these services. The revised contract amount not to exceed is $9,803,937. We reviewed this item and we recommend approval.
Any questions? Okay, based on the staff recommendation and our review, I make a motion to approve 1198.
Thank you, Mr. Love. We have a motion for approval of item 1198. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Titsworth. Please vote appropriately. The voting is ended and item 1198 has been approved.
The next item on the agenda is item number 1199, and I'd ask Rhonda Powell to present this item.
Good morning, Chairman Jones, members of the authority, Director E. Kelly. On behalf of the Right-of-Way and Utilities Division, I'd like to present item 1199. The following parcels consisting of approximate acres and the locations identified below were previously acquired by the authority. Parcel number TU 535, Section 28, Township 18 North, Range 11 East, 0.93 acres more or less on the Turner Turnpike in Creek County. E 423, Track 1, Section 4, Township 12 North, Range 1 East, 4.99 acres more or less on the Kickapoo Turnpike in Oklahoma County. And finally, E 426, Track 2, Section 4, Township 12 North, Range 1 East, 3.06 acres more or less on the Kickapoo Turnpike in Oklahoma County. A staff review of the properties was conducted, and it has been determined that a portion of the described parcels in the approximate acreage identified was acquired for previous turnpike projects and is not needed for any construction or maintenance needs of the turnpike system. Based on that determination, staff recommends that the authority consider and vote to declare the above described parcels surplus and authorize the director to obtain a survey, appraisal, and sell, lease, or otherwise dispose of the property, including use in a land swap to acquire other property needed for the turnpike system. Regarding the Kickapoo parcels, in February of 2022, agenda item 910 was approved for the uneconomic remnants on the Kickapoo to be surplused. During an internal review, it was discovered these 2 parcels, which will be sold together, were overlooked, and we are simply shoring up our paperwork. In regards to the Turner parcel, it was acquired for TMC 107C3, the widening project on the Turner. This remaining piece is also an uneconomic remnant. Staff has reviewed the item and recommends approval. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Rhonda. Any questions?
Just a comment, I like
Yes,
the
ma'am.
additional map that you put in there this time that gives us a good picture, so thank you.
Thank you.
And also thank the staff for continuing to look at the surplus property. We've looked at a lot of those over the last few years and really have sold a number of them or used them for a land swap or
Yes.
whatever we want to do. And I just think that's good to get rid of our excess property. If there are no other questions, and based on staff recommendation, I'd make a motion to approve item 1198.
Thank you, Mr. Love. We have a motion for item...
I'm sorry, 1199.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1199. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Titsworth. Please vote appropriately. The voting is ended and item 1199 has been approved.
The next item on the agenda is item number 1200, and I would ask Jeremy Smith to present this item.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the authority. The Maintenance Division is requesting consideration of the authority to purchase the following items under statewide contract SW1053M. This is for the Oklahoma Highway Patrol. Contractor is Motorola Solutions for 120 radios. These are Smart Connect 800 megahertz system in the amount of $979,428. The entire OHP fleet is moving to this system. They came to us early last year and started telling us the direction they wanted to head, so we budgeted for it, started asking lots of questions on the purpose of this. The radios that we're pulling out of their units, if this is approved, we can reutilize those in the Maintenance Division. So that's going to be a huge cost savings for us because ours are on the near brink of extinction. So this will be benefit to both agencies. But maintenance and OHP staff has reviewed and recommend approval.
Okay, are there any questions? Thank you, Jeremy. Based on staff recommendation, I would make a motion to approve item 1200.
Thank you, Mr. Love. We have a motion for approval of item number 1200. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Titsworth. Please vote appropriately. The voting is ended and item 1200 has been approved. Moving on to our reports, agenda items. The first report is our Highway Patrol Board, Major Vowell.
Chairman, members of the authority, for the month of April, our Turnpike troopers made 2,578 violator contacts, assisted 514 motorists, and investigated 99 motor vehicle collisions. The troopers worked 978 shifts for an average of 198 miles per shift, which is just over 190,000 miles driven. We did have 2 fatalities. One was on the creek and one was on the Turner. And the other enforcement and collision reduction efforts have been included in your review. You have any questions?
You know, I ask this frequently. If I recall, the number that you're authorized is about 127. I know we've made some improvements on getting some additional troopers, and I think we got some out of the last academy, didn't we? And so where do we stand right now in totals?
We're currently at 122.
Oh, good. Great.
That includes all of our motor units and the additional Turnpike troopers that we have out there right now. I'm in conversations with the commissioner and the chief about the upcoming academy that's about to start. It'll end in December. So we're looking at how many we could get. More possibly might get 8 to 10 more troopers by the end of the year.
That'd be great.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Our next report is our consulting engineer report, Jimmy Sparks.
Good morning, Chairman Jones, members of the authority, Director E. Kelly. Concerning the trust requirements, we are about halfway through our inspection cycle for the 2024 annual report with the major assets, meaning pavements, bridges, and drainage culverts. And talk about it often, but as we complete these, we're always looking at our year-over-year performance of the major assets, and are we seeing a little more rapid acceleration of the degradation of those, if you will. But we often talk about the maintenance practices, and they do a great job, like bridge deck washing and keeping the bearings clean, and then obviously the capital reinvestment. I did want to point out that the engineering staff recently sent out requests for letters of interest that had about 14 different projects, including 10 bridges and some of our long bridges over waterways. So certainly, ones that are in good shape but aging and need to be addressed. So, the commitment of the reinvestment, along with programs like Access, will keep our system operating at very high service levels. In May, our engineers checked around 14 different special overloads, so really seeing a lot of consistent activity for those special overloads, if you will. So a lot of things being moved on the Turnpike system. No special inspections to report in the current reporting period, but we are working with engineering and maintenance on a couple of projects, some follow-up inspections, and looking to develop some repairs on those that aren't related to overheight impacts. As always, our capital plan summary is in our monthly report, and happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
I've got a question, Jimmy. Under the 2023 capital plan, we had 27 projects, and it shows 118% were awarded. Did we add some additional projects? Because I was looking at the budget for that also, and the budget is considerably over what we had originally planned. DJ, you're kind of shaking your head.
Finding that here.
Yeah, I'm going to make an assumption here that Jimmy's going to check real fast, but I would assume that would be the emergency projects that probably jumped up into the need that we led, so.
And that's also the reason for the increase in budget that was originally
Spot on. They do show up, they do get added to the list, so they're not, yeah.
And then I also noticed that for the year before, the plan for 2022, we've only awarded 64% of those 21 projects to date.
Yeah, and a lot of times in the capital plan, and it gets kind of, the projects get done, but a lot of times the programmed year, the budget year, they show up and then through different scopes, or were designed in one year and then we re-budget for construction in a following year. It's kind of as we rebalance year over year, sometimes those numbers do get a little bit skewed. We do the projects eventually, just the accounting maybe gets a little bit convoluted, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My comment is it's nice to not have to discuss any emergency issues. Keep our fingers crossed. Got a wince from Director E. Kelly there. Our next item is our trustee report. Ms. Singleton.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the authority. As bond trustee to the authority, all monthly debt service transfers were made for the semi-annual payment due to the bondholders as required by the trust agreement. The semi-annual senior reserve valuation was provided to the authority for the period ending April 30th and a requirement of the trust agreement. To our knowledge, all other requirements set forth in the trust agreement has been satisfied. Questions of my report?
Are there any questions?
Just a comment, we always like your report.
Thank you.
No. Thank you. Our next report is the operating results and financial condition. Wendy Smith.
Chairman Jones, members of the authority, Director E. Kelly, you have all received your operations report for April prepared by the Comptroller Division. OTA continues to be in a strong financial position and in compliance with this trust indenture, as Rachel just reported, which we love. That's why we love her report, because we are. Net toll revenues for April on the Oklahoma Turnpike system reported at $33.7 million, which was a healthy 11.9% over the previous year. And year-to-date revenues continued to outpace budgeted revenues by 8.3% through April of 2024. More good news. Total transactions grew by 2.9% as compared to last year, with heavy truck traffic continuing to remain strong. And there was a little bit of, I think I left a little phrase out of the ops report, but heavy truck traffic was actually up 10.8%, which ultimately resulted in an increase of heavy truck toll revenue of 27.7% above April of 2023. So it still does sort of reflect that post-COVID, people still having their groceries delivered, so we've still got really healthy truck traffic and I think a healthy economy. So we also have began our fiscal year through the first 4 months maintaining a consistently conservative approach to spending. The division directors have managed to keep the operating expenses 24.6% under the 2024 operating and maintenance budget, the annualized one. We also continue to exceed our trust-required senior and total debt service ratios. The Gilcrease transactions continue to climb. The Gilcrease Turnpike has now been open long enough, as I said, in February, so we can now compare April of 2023 to April of 2024, and as I stated last month, there is a long ramp-up period for new roads. This is no different. It's usually about 5 years. The Gilcrease Turnpike actually year over year has increased for April 55% over April of 2023. The daily transactions went from an average of 18,300 per day in April of 2023 to 28,455 per day in April of 2024. It's a commuter turnpike, so weekdays are actually at over 31,000 per day compared to weekend traffic, which is at 21,280 a day. So it's really grown both on weekdays and weekends. And we are aware that some of that is attributed to the construction along I-244 in Tulsa, where traffic is down to one lane, and that causes some congestion, and we're happy to be able to provide a corridor that will relieve that congestion. So I'll take any questions.
Any questions?
Just a comment, as somebody who drives this every day, I can definitely feel the increase in traffic. And as somebody who has to avoid that construction,
Yes.
I appreciate it also.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next report is our director's report. Director E. Kelly.
I'll go ahead and go. And you can do that when TJ gets up here. It's on purpose, I swear. I'm not setting TJ up. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Obviously had a few technical difficulties today. That's not unusual for anybody being around me. I've said that before, and I think I bring those on and cause them myself. So I apologize for the voting machine today and whatever's going on underneath the podium currently. Couple things that we need to update the board on from the Turnpike Authority side. Appreciate Wendy's report. The state of the Turnpike Authority is excellent. Traffic is up, revenues are up, which is good. Shows the need for the Turnpike and for the roads that we provide here in our state. Something that's going to be new and more convenient for Oklahomans traveling out of state. You'll see a graphic being shown on the screen right now, and that is new interoperability with E470. We actually went live kind of quietly yesterday. Again, on turnpikes that are, and toll roads both in Colorado and in Oklahoma that are already cashless. If we pick up and read that you have a transponder for another state that we're interoperable with, we're able to save you that plate pay invoice and able to direct bill to that other state, to that interoperable agency. So yesterday, we received the file from E470 that had over 2.1 million transponders in it, which is great. That's 2.1 million more interoperable users that can drive through Oklahoma. And just yesterday, we posted 286 transactions. So just overnight, 286 transactions that didn't have to be an invoice that got mailed out to people who have a Colorado, an E470 transponder. This connects easily to the Denver International Airport with, you can use your Pike Pass now there on E470. This does not work currently on Northwest Parkway. So on the northwest side of Denver is a very short section of Turnpike that's not operated by E470. E470 manages their toll transactions, but the entity is actually separate. The technology that they have on their gantries is not the same technology that we have that are able to read the 6C tags that we use in Oklahoma. So there is a small portion on the northwest side of Denver that's not interoperable with Pike Pass, but they are working to make that much needed update. Which also, by joining the central hub, gets them interoperable with Kansas, Texas, and parts of Florida. Again, our group is really working hard to become interoperable nationwide. And we're leaders in that realm, and I want to recognize Amanda, and I don't know where Amanda went and sat. Amanda's right here. And Joni, who hopefully is probably, she's on vacation, so hopefully she's not watching online. But if she is, I'll give her some props also. Amanda and Joni are leaders in interoperability, Oklahoma being in the middle of the United States, carrying several interstates and a lot of cross-country traffic. We see a lot of transponders from other states. And we know the transponder's in the vehicle, but we don't have a place to tie it to, so we end up sending a plate pay invoice. And so as we move forward, we're working to become interoperable with East and West Coast states. And again, big time thanks to Amanda and the team for making that come true. I think we've got a video queued up that has to do with some of the tornadoes that have happened recently. I think that'll start to play here in just a second there it goes. And so, as you are likely all aware, we had some pretty tornadic season, weather event season this year. And in Sulphur, the town took a direct hit. We do have a turnpike right there in the area, and so in partnership with ODOT and emergency management, we coordinated with the city manager. And what we basically do, first function is to get the roadways in the community open. So we get debris that is near to the road or on the road first. And then in our second pass, as people who live there, as residents and business owners are able, they move some of that debris out near the roadway. And we take that debris and load it and are able to haul some of it off. And we were able to do that for the first couple of weeks. I have some statistics here about it. We went into work on May 1st. The tornado was on April 27th. We worked May 1st through May 8th. Had 13 people with equipment. We have the equipment. We have those track hoes that we use to clean out drainage structures. We have the trucks that we do snow and ice and haul other materials with. And so if we have them and we're in the community, why not be a good partner to our neighbors and help them clean up? First, we obviously evaluated any damage that we had on the Turnpike network, and there was none to speak of on the Chickasaw Turnpike. But we hauled 430 loads out of the small community. ODOT hauled loads as well. Really did just there in the very first week after the tornado, before other resources were able to be bid and show up in town, we were able to do a pretty major cleanup. So really proud of Jeremy and the maintenance staff for that work that was done, and TJ for the support that's been given to our neighbors. TJ is going to give us a little bit of an update on the access program. So one of the things, this was the technical issue here, so while they're coordinating that, I'll keep talking, try to fill the gap. One of the things that's, as we've been turning projects back on, and they've been turned on in a very thoughtful sequence, and that's, again, the work of TJ and Darren and the engineering and construction staff that we have. But they've been trying to make a conscious effort about what projects need to come online first, what our first priorities are, and then task the engineering resources to those projects so that we can get the design completed. Again, we sold bonds in October of last year, and we've been spending part of that money. If you have driven the Turner Turnpike recently, you've seen the major construction effort that's going on up there. During the Driving Forward program, at one point I counted 183 pieces of equipment in that 19-mile segment, all being operated at the same time. The other day I was up on the Turner and I counted 63, so we've got some work to do there, TJ. We got to get those numbers up. But that means putting more of it under construction, and the first step in that is getting more of that design complete. So with that, I'll let TJ give a little update.
I'll just make a comment, Joe. I was fortunate to be able to drive the Turnpike 2 weeks ago, and it's amazing from Kellyville to Bristow how much you see, and I'm sure that TJ is going to focus on that, but it truly is, you can tell the project's well underway.
For the sake of time, we're just going to go without the website. And thank you for taking all my words. You're going to make this really short and sweet, so it's great, which I don't mind at all. So exactly what Director was saying is that when we restarted the program in February, we really wanted to be methodical about it. Flooding the industry with all of those projects at once can be detrimental not only to us, to them, but also to our partners here at ODOT and other entities. So when we restarted in February, that accounted for around 55 total construction projects. And that was the map, which is what I was going to show you today, which you can definitely still go to accessoklahoma.com. And the map will look a little different today. There'll be a lot more yellow than what there was previously in February. After today, we're going to start reinitiating the remainder of the Turner Turnpike, the remainder of the Will Rogers Turnpike, and the JNKT Turnpike. So everything will be turned back on to full design, as well as a section on the east-west connector. So we've really been focusing on that section from Newcastle back east I-35. That is still our first priority for design and to get open. We also went a couple miles to the east, just past Air Depot Road on the east-west connector. And now what we're gonna do is go up by I-40 and the Kickapoo, where that kind of comes down and around, roughly around Choctaw Road. We're gonna turn that design segment back on as well. So when you look at that map, you'll notice that there is still the large interchange out there in between the lakes, as well as the south extension. We still have not reengaged those contracts yet. I still plan to reengage the south extension alignment sometime towards the end of the year with our staff, focusing, knowing that we have to do some sort of realignment in that area. But again, trying to make sure I get the rest of the program off the ground first is my thought right now. With the addition of these new projects today, there'll be another 57 construction projects that we will now reinitiate. And so we have a total of 112. And just to date, not counting what you just awarded today for Darren, but to date, we have roughly 156 million of authorized task orders for engineering design. And that will continue to go up over the next few months as we re-engage these contracts. I would think in July, definitely not going to put too much pressure on Darren, but I expect a handful of these to start rolling in July, August, and September for sure. We are still working again on the east-west connector property acquisition as far as total takes of properties that we need to look at. Sometime towards the end of the summer, I'll call it August, September, we will have our 60% plans on most of that corridor, which will help engage the partial takes that we need to start discussing. So we are making great progress right now. I'm excited about it. I'm thankful we were able to give our consultant friends somewhat of a grace period here, but it is definitely coming to an end. So we've got to get moving, and they recognize that. I've been talking with them for the past couple months that this is coming, but for us to deliver this program in the time frame we originally said, which is that 15-year time frame, we've got to get moving. So this is just another part of that. So I'm happy to answer any questions, Director, around the program. Again, sorry for the technical difficulty, blaming that on him for sure, but that's okay.
Well, my comment is when you listen to Wendy's report about the truck traffic increasing, the 6 lanes obviously will help that. It's definitely needed. The sooner the better. So I'm glad to hear that we're making progress and
Yes, sir.
ramping up speed.
Yes, sir.
And that's also where we see a lot of our accidents right now too, so that'll help the accident rate.
Yep.
As someone who drives the Turner frequently and lives in Tulsa, I get a lot of questions about when are you guys going to get this done? So I'm happy to hear we're really moving forward quickly on that part too.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, TJ.
Thank you.
Did TJ say a date when he was going to get it done? We're going to hold him to that, if he would say one. The last thing that I have on my list to give the board an update on is that the safety campaign that's this month is Secure Your Load. And actually, I think this Thursday is Secure Your Load Day nationally. And the month, though, is all month, and we're encouraging drivers to make sure whatever they're hauling is properly secured in the vehicle. This includes the bed of your vehicle where it could potentially fly out, but also inside the cab. I think something a lot of people don't think about is they put a big heavy box or something behind them in the back seat of a vehicle, and then if you have to hit the brakes or in the event you're in some type of crash, that vehicle becomes a projectile. So it's really important to secure your loads, not just outside, things that are in the bed or things that are hauled on a trailer, but also inside a vehicle. Unsecured loads not only endanger you, but also other drivers and pedestrians. Nationally in 2019, there were 739 deaths and nearly 90,000 crashes caused by road debris, not including the workers that are now out there exposed trying to pick some of that debris up. Our workers most recently on the Indian Nation Turnpike witnessed this firsthand when a vehicle was coming through one of our maintenance work zones and was losing a bale of hay off the side. As I understand it, the bale of hay struck a OHP vehicle and an OTA vehicle and also injured 3 of our workers. Luckily, not too bad, as I understand it, not too badly injured. So this example is why we continually ask motorists to remain vigilant, put away distractions, and always secure your loads before driving or pull over safely and if a load shifts. Lastly, I will mention that the Oklahoma Highway Safety Office got some new numbers on seatbelt usage. 92% of Americans polled wear their seatbelts all the time, and compared that to 81% of Oklahomans. We have some work that we could do, and we could use everybody's help in ensuring that everybody wears their seatbelt. It's our first line of defense. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'd stand for any questions that the board might have.
81% is an improvement, but just not good enough. I mean, I can remember when we were, less than 70, but 81 is still pretty bad. And, you know, talking about secure your load, I think it's pretty important because my daughter and a friend of hers were coming from New Orleans. They were still in Louisiana between, I guess they were south of Shreveport, and there was a pickup truck with a trailer load of furniture, and a sofa came off, and they T-boned a sofa going 70 miles an hour. So they had to turn around and go back to New Orleans. So very, very important.
Any other questions?
No, I would just mirror that because what you don't realize is when you're driving down a highway, something that feels to be like be very heavy and you wouldn't have to worry about can fly out of a vehicle if it's not secure. I got to experience that too. So yeah, it really is a good campaign.
The highway patrolman said if they had been in a car instead of an SUV, it could have been much different, so.
Thank you. That concludes our items of business that were on the agenda and our reports. I ask for a motion for adjournment of this meeting to our next meeting scheduled for Tuesday, July 9th, 2024 at 10 a.m.
Make a motion for adjournment.
We have a second?
Second.
Please vote appropriately. Voting's ended. We are adjourned.